My name is Jeff Hubbard, and I am a fly fishing guide up in northern Michigan. I primarily guide on the Pere Marquette, and I've been guiding professionally full time for 27 years now. My business name is Outfitters North. Bird hunting ever since I moved up here, but even as a young kid, I started bird hunting up here, probably when I was in my teenage years, and even earlier, just following my dad and my grandpa. So, and my grandpa was a big angler and, hunter, and I kind of grew up playing up here, whether it was hunting or fishing or riding dirt bikes or snowmobiling. There's just made a lot of memories up in this area and still do. Hey, get over here. She's 11 years old already, and so she's, kind of coming into her own. She's kind of like an old veteran now, so it's not too difficult. She kind of knows the game, and as you can see, she gets pretty fired up. So yeah, having her been hunting with her now for the 11 years, and it's pretty amazing to watch her grow as a bird dog. When we got her, she was 4 months old. And she already had some birds under her, so that helped. And she, had the gunshot over her already, and yeah, she was really, really kind of. I didn't really, as far as just basic training, I didn't really have to do anything when it came to the bird training. She already kind of, that was in her blood, and I just, basically went through the basic commands, teach her to whoa good, to heel. I had my good friends Scott Brozier helped me train her, so we had some training done with her, and also another good friend of ours, who's in kind of used to be in the dog training world, Vance Butler. No, completely different. Completely different. When I see Omni hunting, does not remind me of Junebug. They're kind of completely different dogs. June is more of a, the classic pointer where she's picking her scent up with her head up high, picking it up in the wind, where Omni's more of, nose to the ground, picking up the bird scent. So they're completely different as far as their hunting.
Nope, that one flew away.
Of your dogs of the past.
June probably reminds me more of, as far as dogs of the past, what reminds me is probably June reminds me more of Guinness. Guinness was a chocolate lab that we had. She was a pointing lab, and she worked pretty slow. She was definitely, not a big ranging dog. And June's a lot like that, like the creepy, get on the scent and kind of work the bird to force that bird to come up. And the Guinness, the pointing lab that we had, was a lot like that. And she was a small dog too. She was probably under 50 pounds. So for a lab, she kind of reminded me more of a short hair. She even looked more like a short hair other than her long tail. Yeah, I feel like June is probably the old trusty, reliable dog. I mean, you put her on the ground and she's going to find birds, no matter what. And you can always tell if there isn't any birds in the area or the scent gets bad, because then Junebug will just start hunting chipmunks. And then we're like, it's time to leave. My good friend Clint, that I guide with on the river, he's hunted with Junebug a long time, and there's times where it gets too warm kind of mid-afternoon and we start seeing June hunting chipmunks, and he's like, well, time to go to another spot. There's no birds in here.
So how do you think today went?
Today went good. We found quite a few birds. The cover, unfortunately, was pretty thick. This spot that we're hunting today, I definitely like better later in the season when the leaves fall. Over the years, we've had some pretty good windstorms here, so there's just a ton of downfall in the thick cover, and of course, that's where the birds are. So it just makes it kind of hard for walking, and as you can see right now, we're doing a little tick combing, and the ticks are just unbelievable. But this particular spot, I've been hunting since I was probably 16, 15 years old with my dad and even some of my dad's friends. And then as I got older, when I got my first bird dog, started hunting here. It's kind of cool. It still holds birds, and it's just good habitat. But we found a few grouse. Got a couple woodcock. Grouse were pretty spooky, doing what grouse do. Really running on us today. I would think some of the similarities is the fact that they're both pretty active. You get to be outside, you know, in the environment, and every day you really don't know. It's like a whole new adventure. You don't know what's going to happen. Like you could go, you know, to an area bird hunting and have a really good day there, you know, 2-3 weeks ago, and go back and there might not be any more birds there. And fishing's kind of the same outcome. You know, they're either biting or they're not. But I think they're a lot alike in the way that it's an active thing. You can talk. It's not like sitting in a deer stand where you have to be super quiet and sit, where you're constantly getting exercise and you're moving and you're talking amongst one another, and strategizing too is a big thing. You know, just like fishing, you know, what stretch do we go to today? Hunting's kind of the same way, you know, what area do you want to go hunt on a particular day? You know, is it super hot and dry? Maybe we should go find a creek bottom. Or, you know, maybe the birds are up along the oaks in the ridges, you know, eating the acorns because we have so many of them this year. So it's kind of, to me, it's a lot of the same in that aspect of it. I think owning bird dogs, it probably goes both ways as far as patience, but I think we learn patience from them in a lot of ways. You know, you got to have a lot of patience if you're going to own a bird dog, and you got to be willing to, you know, let that dog kind of work into his own. He kind of, just like a human, he kind of finds himself or herself as he gets older in his hunting stages of life. And I think, you know, it's always, at the beginning can be kind of rough because, you know, the dog is just, it's a puppy and everything's new to it. And then the older it gets, it just, you know, everything just kind of clicks, especially, you know, like you've said from the beginning, the more contact your dog has with birds, eventually it's all going to come together and click. And I think that's the biggest thing, you know, if you really want a good bird dog, you got to put that dog on the ground and put it through a trial and error, and it's kind of goes both ways. You're going to, you know, learn stuff and have mishaps and do stuff dumb, and same with the bird dog, you know. So I think the patience thing probably goes with both the bird dog and the owner, but you definitely have to have a lot of patience if you plan on owning a bird dog, I think. I think the Drahthaars in general, being a versatile hunting dog, they have a lot of hunt drive, and they kind of almost hunt like a flushing dog, but yet, you know, they'll hold point really good, and they retrieve, and they find cripples, wounded game, excellent. Like I know if I wing a grouse or a woodcock out in the field and I have trouble finding, you know, if it's running or whatnot, the Drahthaar and Omni especially she'll hunt it down and she'll find it. I have no worry that I'm going to walk out of there not finding that, you know, wounded bird, which, you know, that's something ethically you don't really want to do. So, and I just think, in general, the hunt drive is just, it's fabulous, the way that they hunt, and they're always wanting to hunt, and they're constantly hunting. Like, we laugh with Omni, when I get home from off the river from work, I'll let her out, and she literally sits on the deck until sunset, like a little kid, just staring in the trees, just finding a squirrel, trying to find a chipmunk. She's got so much hunt drive, she just constantly wants to find something. And I think that's what makes them really great upland dogs, is the fact that they just don't give up. They're constantly moving, and they definitely hunt different than like my German Shorthair June. They're more nose to the ground, and they're not, you know, I think in general, if you're in an area with a lot of birds, you're going to find more birds having a Drahthaar. That's a great question. I would say probably June would be more of the dry fly dog, because she likes to creep and she hunts finesse, yep, more stealthy. Where Omni would be the streamer dog, throw the meat and potatoes right at the bank and get it moving. And, you know, we're going to see how many we can find during the day, Dad. You know, we're going to see how many birds we're going to put up just in this little area. And June, she'll get on a bird. And you know, the one thing with June is when she's on a bird, you're prepared because she'll work that bird until that bird goes up. So you're walking behind her and she's as stealthy as a cat, just creeping and creeping and creeping. And she works really good in thick cover, where Omni works really good to me in more open cover because she just can cover ground faster and she'll get right on top of those birds before they get up and move. Same thing, because I think what makes her really special is just like we were talking about, the more contact, the more you put these dogs on the ground, the more birds they get over them, the older they get, the better they become. It's just like anything, it takes practice for them too. And I think now, yeah, that she's 8 years old, I mean, I think about the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of birds that she's had in front of her over the years and the contacts she's had with birds. And she's just starting to come into her prime, probably since she was 6 even. Just the way she works and how she works the wind, and it's really cool to watch. And I think that's the biggest thing with bird hunting. I mean, to me, it's not about how many I kill, because Lord knows I'm not the greatest shot, but it's more about watching the dogs work. That's probably the most satisfying thing about bird hunting to me, is just putting the dogs on the ground and watching them do what they're bred to do and what they're made to do, and they love it. I connected with Omni through my good friend Scott Brosier, who I've known for a long time, and it was kind of a funny thing because we had a chocolate pointing lab named Giddis who we were really fond of, and she ended up going at a young age. She was only 10 and she ended up getting cancer. So, and June was just probably about 4 at the time, and I was already starting to think about, getting another bird dog. And my good friend and fishing and hunting partner, Scott, said, I think I got a dog that might work well with you. And we were kind of nervous at first because they're both females. And Scott was kind enough to just, let me take her for a weekend basically and see how she did with June. And yeah, they've been buddies ever since. And we knew your master plan when you dropped her off, because you knew we weren't going to give her back, but she's a great dog. One thing too, I would say, the Drahts are definitely kind of a 1 or 2 person dog. I mean, they're very protective of their owners, and but I like that. I like the fact that they're a 1 person dog or a 2 person dog. Like with Heather and I, she gets along great, and she's just at your side. In fact, sometimes I laugh because we should have named her Shadow, because at the house, I mean, I turn around and she's at my ankles all day. But they're just so eager to, be there for their owner.
What's her favorite pastime at home?
Oh, it's chipmunk hunting to a T. The chipmunks will get into our stacked firewood for the winter, and Omni literally will play a game of Jenga and take the wood out. But we ended up making that into a training thing too, because now in the winter when I go to bring the firewood in, Omni just grabs a log and I get her to bring it all the way in, and she drops it right on the pile of firewood for the evening, and then we go out and get more. So, oh, it was a great day in the field. Nice, finally cooled off. We had a cold front come in last night, so it wasn't too hot on us or the dogs. It's pretty dry out though. We haven't, we're in this drought up here, and we just haven't gotten a lot of rain, so everything's noisy, crispy. The leaves are starting to fall just because it's so dry out. And it seemed like the birds were definitely a little spookier, getting out in front of the dogs a little farther than we'd like. But overall, yeah, it was good. Shots weren't really that great, at least on my end. Blew a couple nice layup shots, but yeah, I mean, the foliage is still pretty thick too, so it's definitely not easy getting clean shots on them, but it was a lot of fun. Dogs did great. It was fun. We had the double Ds, 2 Drahthaars on the ground today, Ryan and Omni, and it's just great watching them working together, honoring each other's points, retrieving. Did great. I would say probably one thing was playing the wind. It was a really good thing. You have a tendency, like you go out hunting or fishing and, you just go to the same spot. It's kind of routine, especially living up here, because I'm spoiled because I have great bird cover and I have a great river out my back door. And you just have the tendency to just, pull in, drop the tailgate, let the dog hunt. So it's just something I look forward to every year, getting out in the woods with good friends and family and good bird dogs.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if so, please leave a comment below. Until next time, hunt hard, always trust your dog, and go make some great memories.